they're trying to start a foundation in his name. We're gonna have if you don't know about the Taco Cook-Off, Peter, that was a big event. We'll go into that in part two, but there's gonna be a memorial slash benefit for Ruben March 8th during PDC.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be a miniature taco cook-off I'm putting together with Josh Brackett, Taylor. There's so many people get involved and helping me with this. Um, we're gonna do a slash benefit slash memorial because Ruben had a funeral and his family got to say goodbye. I think his professional family gets a chance to say goodbye, right? And we're gonna have that on once again March 8th, and we can talk about that in part two. There'll be more. They're starting to plan now. There's a conference that he did every year during the rodeo cook-off. It's called, and we're gonna have it. And Ruben created the award. It's called the Kelly Mason Award when Kelly Mason passed away. And we're gonna award Ruben that award this year during that session.
There's a major crisis facing healthcare facilities management. We have aging employees, aging buildings, and aging infrastructure. We've created the Healthcare Facilities Network, a content network designed specifically to help solve for these three pressing issues in healthcare facilities management. We bring on thought leaders and experts from across healthcare facilities management, all the way from the C-suite to the technician level, because at the end of the day, we're all invested in solving the aging issue. Thanks for tuning in. Look at our videos. You will find that as a theme across our content. This is the Healthcare Facilities Network. I'm your host, Peter Martin.
Today, I am joined by an esteemed group of guests, and I'm very thankful that each of them made the time to see me. Today, our episode's a little bit different. We're going to talk about friend, mentor, father, Ruben Garcia, who tragically passed on December 22nd of 2025. But before we do that, I would like to ask each of our guests to please introduce themselves, who you are, what you do, any little bit of background. And Nathan, I'm going to start with you, please.
So my name is Nathan Garcia. I am Ruben's son. I'm his firstborn child. Well, he had twins, so me and my twin were his firstborns. And I am a facility manager at HCA Healthcare Medical Center. And so I manage the facilities here. And a lot of it comes from my father. He was such a role model and mentor to me. And so, I'm here today to honor him, talk about him, and not just talk about him as the life safety guy, but also who he was as a person, a role model, and a father.
Hi, my name is Jackie. I am currently the facility director here at Methodist Hospital in San Antonio. I have been in the healthcare facilities world for this year is going to be 7 years. So started off as a little, admin assistant in the facility world, and then kind of worked my way up from there. So I'm also appreciative of you still, having this for us and us getting together as a family, really, to talk about the legacy that Ruben had and what we started.
Thank you. TJ?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Nate, first I want to ask you, who was first, though? Who was born first?
Actually, my brother Joshua is 13 minutes older than me. So
Gotcha.
actually,
Okay.
I'm not the firstborn. I lied. I'm the secondborn.
Yeah, I know. I know twins argue over that kind of thing.
I wanted to spice it up.
Yeah,
But,
he's like, that's big bro. So you're technically little bro. I understand.
He's big
It's all
bro.
good. Now, what's going on, y'all? I'm TJ. I am an in-house therapist and counselor to high-performing teams and leaders. My background, I spent a lot of time in the corporate world, and that old saying, "It's not personal, it's just business." Well, I just found that to never be true. Whether like we're making data-driven decisions, these decisions can be emotional. and who can be someone to help work with people to make those decisions. And so went into psychology as a career, and I became a licensed therapist, and now I'm here. Glad to be here, Pete.
Thank you for coming. Can I ask you a quick question, Jesse, before you jump in? And not trying to, yes or no, are you happy that you made the transition into psychology?
Yes.
We could do a whole episode on that, but we don't want to take up too much time.
For the record, I thought he was crazy.
100%.
Jesse,
that's why I got into psychology, Jesse.
Well, hello, I'm Jesse Flores. I am with Acme Architecture Hardware. I am currently their Chief Operating Officer. I have worked in healthcare for over 22 years now, and it's been a fun ride. I was also Ruben's really close personal friend and business partner. I'm the co-founder of Regulatory Concepts, which is the gap checker, airflow checker. Ruben was the face, I was the back end of it, and I liked it that way. And I'm here to talk about who he was.
So back in April, this group, TJ, Jackie, Jesse, and Ruben, they did a presentation, and they had done it all across the country, but I hadn't seen it until TAFM in April of last year. I think it was April or March. And so I was at the conference, and you guys, I think, were Tuesday at noon, and I was sitting next to Jim Crochine of America Plant Maintenance. And he says to me, Pete, you've got to watch this presentation that's coming up. It's awesome. He's like, I saw them last year, because you guys did TAFM 2 years in a row, right? He's like, I saw them last year and they were great, and I can't wait to see them this year. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm like, it's a mental health presentation at a facilities conference, and I was like, what are they going to talk about? How good could it be? And I was very intrigued, to be honest, because I wanted to see it, and Jim spoke so highly of it. So I saw you guys in Austin, and it was fantastic. I mean, how often do you talk about mental health in that capacity in healthcare facilities management? And each of you and Ruben were so honest, and it was really amazing. And everybody in the audience, and I'm not blowing smoke, kind of felt the same way. So I think I told you guys, I had a brother who passed from suicide in 2000. So he had mental health issues at different points in his life. So it really hit home. And I thought, wow, that's great. So I asked Ruben, hey, Ruben, why don't you come on the podcast in July when we were out at the ASHI Annual? So Ruben comes on. Nate, as you know, he talked about you during that conference, talked about how proud he was that you were following in his footsteps. He talked about you after we were over. And so we had a great conversation. And, as I said to Ruben, you'd expect the life safety guy to be able to do this, right? And he was, again, just a fantastic conversation. And then I saw you guys as a group at FSI. So FSI does, CMMS across healthcare. So you guys presented at their user conference in Denver in October. And following that, I'm like, hey, why don't all four of you come on to the network? Let's get all four of you so people can see how you interact. Because again, you guys got a great way about you. It's like you're watching, a TV show, except it's real life, where you just had an easy way, right? And so we agreed, and we set this date in November, that January 22nd, you folks would all join, and we would talk about your presentation, and we would talk about what you guys do for so many societies across the country, because it's just a very important message. Well, obviously, that focus has changed with Ruben's passing. We welcome Nate to our show. We thank you for joining it. And, Jesse, you had contacted me, and TJ and Jackie, you guys wanted to go on with the show. You wanted to honor Ruben, talk about Ruben. I think it's fantastic. You can see through the reaction, the impact he had in a number of different ways. And so we honor and we remember Ruben, and granted, I'm not going to talk a lot, but I do want to ask one question. How did you guys come together and say, you know what, we're going to create this foursome. We're going to go around the country and we're going to present at engineering chapters about mental health? How'd that happen?
So I get to start because kind of flew my way with, Ruben and Jesse's brains coming together and trying to do something. They're like the unstoppable people. Like, you can't ever like stop them when their mind is set. Their mind is set. So I am also a Region 3 director for TAFM, so I get to be on the board and I get to see our presentations, and it was amazing because Ruben submitted this abstract, and I text him and Jesse like, bro, and that was literally my response was like, what is this? Like, are you serious? And I was kind of shocked, but I think I was also like going through some stuff on my personal side too that I was like, this is powerful. Like, this is really powerful. And I loved the idea. And it did start from Ruben because he was very, would check on everybody. Instead of, he brought this up at the first one that we had, instead of asking like, hey, how are you? And you just get like, oh, I'm good. And you walk away, Jesse can elaborate on his little elevator pitch of, how's your mental health, and how that opened up a different conversation. The ones that we don't really ask for sometimes, right? And so when I saw that abstract come through, I was just kind of like, that mind blown thing. And I didn't know TJ. So I got to talking to the board, with it, and I'm like, I think this is a really good idea. Like, nobody ever takes this serious. And as healthcare and in healthcare facilities and as leaders and performers, like, that's the one thing that we'll shove aside before anything else. I got to be this type of person because I got to keep going. And so that's kind of how it all started. And then I think really we started planning after we got approved, and we were doing Zoom meetings. I think like what do we do? 2 weeks or every couple of weeks, and really just got to know each other that entire, like 6 or 7 months. And it was on a personal level, on a professional level. And when we got on stage, you just saw the chemistry. Like, oh, dang. Like, they'd known each other for years.
Yeah. No, it came across that way. So so Jackie, you were reviewing. So it was the original Jesse, Ruben, and TJ. Was that the abstract that was submitted?
That
No,
was the original abstract, right? Oh, were you and
originally it
Ruben?
was me and Ruben, and then when it got approved, I was like, I'm not doing this while bringing TJ in, because me and TJ are actually friends and family. And I was like, I knew his background. I was like, well, I'm not doing this, dude. We need help. We don't know what the hell we're doing. We're not professionals, right? Because I don't like to be. This is the biggest difference between me and Ruben. Ruben would he loved raw emotion, raw material. Even when you did a podcast with him, he wouldn't edit nothing. Like, if you didn't know that about him, he was just so intense. And I'm more prepared. I'm more methodical. I was like, look, I'm not going to walk over there. I kept telling him, I'm not a hospital guy. I'm a vendor. I can't walk up there and embarrass myself. And we brought on TJ right after that. And then shortly, within like a couple days, maybe, Jackie wrote us. And that's how it kind of came together. And, but it really started somehow. Ruben heard through the grapevine that TAFM was looking for new material. And give me a minute. Sorry. The one part that he didn't talk about on your original interview was the whole reason he went off on a mental health kick is because he helped me through something. I was dealing with some stuff. And that's how RC started. He saw what I was going through. Nobody saw it but him. He was the only one that was able to pick me apart. And he told me one day, he goes, man, I don't know what's going on. He goes, but you're the darkest I've ever seen. You're not you. You can bullshit everybody else, but you can't do that to me. He goes, what's going on? And to be honest with you, I didn't know what I didn't know, right? I didn't know what was happening to me, and he's the one that saw it, because we had a thing, we always talked about creating characters, right? And that's another thing I kind of want to talk about, because I know he's known as the life safety guy, But this is how great Ruben was. The life safety wise was just a side hobby that he had. And that's what he's known for. He was so much greater than that. Like the life safety guy was on a Sunday morning, he did these posts, and that's all he did with it, right? And he was so much greater that he was able to capture that. And he goes, I know you're trying to hide it. He goes, but what's going on? And I didn't know, and I kind of blew him off the first time, but then he kind of stuck in my head and he kept poking at me and poking at me. And come to find out, I was going through depression and I didn't know. But I had built a character that nobody was able to pick it apart because I 8 to 5, I got in character, right? And he saw it. And that was his greatness. He saw it. He called me out on it. And he knows my entrepreneur spirit. And he goes, hey, man, because the cap checker, another thing he didn't elaborate, and I messed with him about it. He had a Jenga block when he worked with us. Me and him worked together for a short time at Acme. And he had physically modified this Jenga block to do the gaps. And I used to always mess with him. I said, really, man? The life safety guy got a little piece of wood? Like really? You're the life safety guy. So that's what he used. He goes, hey, why don't you help me develop this? And I don't know what it's going to be. We'll sell it, we'll give it away, but help me be the life safety guy, was his exact words. And we drew it up in a napkin, and we went from napkin to production in 6 weeks. And It kind of got me out of my funk, right? Or whatever I was going through. I still don't know what it was. I didn't talk to nobody. So I wasn't diagnosed. I wasn't, but I know I was going through something. And that's how RC got started. And that's how he kind of started seeing some things with his work depression as well, right? And he called it a work depression. And so that's kind of made him kind of start thinking with mental health. He goes, because he saw me and he admired me like I admired him. There was a mutual respect. And I think the dynamic between both of us was there was no ego between us. He knew that I had my role and my talents, and he had a different role, different talents. And we just merged and we were yin and yang, right, together. And he respected me for who I was, and I respected and admired him for who he was, right? There was nothing I could tell Ruben that I would feel he would ever judge me on. And, I'm not perfect like everybody else. I had my issues, and he knew them all. And he always helped me through them, and he almost always called me out on them, right? And so by doing so, he realized, and he got on his kick, and he started asking random people, Peter, like we were on an elevator at a hotel, and he would ask the janitor, hey, how's your mental health? And they would sit there and talk to him. And I'm like, man, you're like a random dude asking them a random question. And they would sit there and listen and talk to him. And the stories that we would get were like, oh my God, right? And one time he goes, look, man, he goes, I think it's my gift. He goes, I think it's my gift that I'm able to connect with people, right? He goes, I enjoy it. It's almost like a rush for me, because I can see them for who they are, and he wouldn't judge them. He would just listen to them and the stories, and people would just pour their hearts out to him, and he would literally sit down and listen to them. And he said that in their presentation, you can ask people about your mental health, but be prepared to listen. And he definitely meant it. He definitely meant it. And that's how it kind of came together, and that's the backstory. And I knew he didn't say it because he was trying to protect me, right? But that's how it came about.
Interesting. Nate, and TJ will go to you, but Nate, were you aware of any of this, or
me and my father were very close. We talked almost daily. We talked about work a lot, but it wasn't more so. It was more on the impact of work mentally and those type of things. And so I always looked at my dad as a go-getter. He was like that his whole life. You know, and a lot of people know him as, like Jesse said, a leader in facilities. He's the life safety guy, but at the end of the day, I know him as my dad. You know, he was
Hmm.
the man who taught me how to move in the world and how to see things, you know, and I think a lot of the guidance that he gave me, you know, lives on. He lives on through me. He lives on through the people that he's helped and mentored, you know, over his lifetime. And you know, he was always very special. I mean, I knew it, my family knew it. And, you know, he would say himself, he's like, I'm not normal. You know, there's just he always had a special way of just knowing how to give and receive love back. It was just he had that special gift, like Jesse said. And so, you know, growing up, you know, he had me at age 17. So we kind of grew up together. I knew him way before he was a force in facilities world. I mean, when he was, you know, he used to work at running. He was running data cable when he started. Just getting into the labor world, just getting into the world of work. And so I've seen his evolution time and time. And but the thing is he was always him. He was always himself. He at that point he was the same person he was 15 years ago, which was just his heart. He had a big heart, and he always wanted to help people. He always wanted to do that. You know, and so I like to look at that way, like who I am today is because of the man he made me out to be. And so, you know, even though he's not here physically, you know, he's definitely here spiritually, and he's with us in the way we want to help each other, help others. I mean, I think, you know, to honor him it's beautiful to honor him in that way of continuing his mission in that way. But yeah, he was always special, and you know, he he was my number one role model. I mean, I looked up to him more than anybody else.
If you like this video, please like and subscribe to the network. And more importantly, share it with your colleagues in the healthcare industry. Together, we can solve the aging crisis that's impacting all of us.
If this is not a fair question, you don't have to answer it, but you just used an interesting word to me. And you said continue his mission. What would you think, like, if you were to continue his mission, what would that mean to you? And if you haven't had a chance to think about it, you can tell me, hey,
Yeah, I mean,
I just used the word. I didn't think about it.
you know, it just sounds right. You know, I think, in the end, he wanted to help others,
Hmm.
and there was a joy, a sense of joy that he got from doing that. I think, and for me, I have that same joy as well. If I can just help somebody in a small way, I feel like that there's no better feeling than that. And so I know he would want to do that. He that was his mission, and if he could, he would continue doing that. And I feel like I would love to continue that mentality of helping others, helping young people like myself. Like you said, there's not a lot of young people in this facility world, and you know, I feel like with that, I can, you know, have the opportunity to be a leader in that sense of be a leader for the young people, and you know, because this is a great industry we're in, but not a lot of people know about it, especially young people. And so, if I can be that bridge and be a guidance, a mentor to other young, upcoming workers, you know, and not just in that sense, but also the mental health aspect of it as well. You know, making sure that you know our voices are heard, and that you know we are seen. You know that even through dark times, there are people out there willingly to help and to serve others. You know, at the end of the day, my dad lived to serve, and I want to do the same as well.
It's a pretty good mission, Nate. Can't really get much better than that. TJ, do you coming in, you know, when Jesse said, hey, TJ, you got to come up on stage with us. you have the background. What was that like for you, and what were your thoughts coming into it?
Man, I was excited to do it, and sorry, like Nate's speech just now, that made me a little emotional. I'm a
Mm,
parent. I think we're all Peter, you a parent too?
I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're all
4
parents, and if
kids.
if
Except
my
me.
kiddo, yeah, except Nate, yeah.
Yeah.
If my
Not trying to rush you, Nate.
my kiddo, I hope he can speak to me like that when it's time. So, oh, Jesus, Nate, bro, you did it. You got the therapist emotional.
Oh,
Um, but it's yeah, when Jesse first hit me up or contacted me about this, I was like, "Man, what are y'all doing now? Like, what's going on? What is happening?" And then it
How long,
evolved.
TJ, how long had you known Jesse?
Oh my gosh, maybe 13, 12,
Okay.
13 years. So he's seen me through, young, fresh out of college type kid who always had these ideas. I'm going to him like, hey, should we do this? Do we do this? Really, like a mentor, very much a mentor. Looked up
For
to
the
him a
record,
lot.
he knew Chewy. He knew Chewy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The industry knows Jesse, but I know Chewy. Like I know, I know Chewy. And so when this came about, I was excited, but I was also a little apprehensive because I didn't know how the reaction would be to this kind of conversation, right? As a therapist, you have like the willing clients and then the unwilling ones, and the unwilling ones are always more difficult to work with. And when I say unwilling, I mean those who kind of get dragged into the therapy office. They get, whether it's couples, and you usually have one partner who's like, we need to do this, and the other partner's like, just like this the whole time, or things like that. And so I was like, are we going into that kind of situation where some people are willing and ready to engage, and then others are just hands crossed? Like, why are we talking about this? We need to be talking about some technical aspect of healthcare facilities, which totally understand.
Mm,
um yeah, and so the premise that was really come up with was, just because I carry the weight well does not mean it's not heavy, right?
mm,
And being in this industry that y'all are in, that happens all the time. Like, you carry a lot of weight, a lot of responsibility, but just because you can does not mean it's not a heavy or a lot to bear. And I found when that question came up of how's your mental health, the reason why it opened up so many doors and so many lanes of conversation was because it was a question we all wanted to ask, not just each other, but ourselves. How's my mental health? Jesse shared, Ruben shared. I think we all were going through something. We had 6 months, and we called them therapy sessions. Like, we had 6 months where we'd get on like a Zoom call, and we would just spill our guts about what was going on with our lives. And this doesn't happen separate of our work life. We like to silo, like, this is my work self, and this is my personal self, and this is but it all integrates, and it flows in different aspects. And the more we try to block it off, I feel the more difficult it is to really perform or show up as we who we are as a whole person. So yeah, I mean, when they first contacted me to get started, I was excited to do it, but I was still like, all right, what are we walking into? What is TAFM? Like, right? I had so many questions.
just another acronym.
Yeah.
Peter, I want to put out something out there. Because I know TJ's got a hard stop soon. But you got to see the second one, right? You didn't get to see the first one.
Second
Correct.
half of my so yes,
Yeah,
not the
yeah.
first. Yep.
So the first one was a little bit more. I think it was a little bit more raw. And the first one, I'm gonna share a moment in a minute, but that presentation, we met for a long time, but really the presentation itself didn't get built till like the last 2 weeks. Like,
Hmm.
am I correct? Some rough timeline, roughly. Like, so we
Roughly
kind of
about, yeah, it
we
took
made
us a
it.
while.
We tore it apart. We made it again, tore it apart. But the actual presentation didn't get made to like 2, maybe 3 weeks before. And there was a video on that first presentation that talked about depression. And that video didn't make it on to literally 5 minutes before the presentation. we were so worried about.
They drove me crazy, Pete. Drove me crazy. I'm like, why are we making a last minute change? What like, what are we
So
doing?
Who
we
are these
knew
people?
we needed to set the tone. We started with that, so we knew we needed to set the tone. But Ruben was worried about his professional, um, the people. I don't know how to articulate, but he has a professional leadership role, right? And he was worried about that, and I was worried about me coming from the vendor side because I was the only vendor up there. I mean, I really was.
Yeah.
And so I get seen a certain way. I kept telling him, like, dude, I'm not a hospital guy. You can be raw and you're gonna be forgiven. I'm a vendor. People are gonna look at me different. And we were worried about the older regime, right?
Hmm.
It's who we were worried about, how they were gonna accept it.
Yeah.
And there was a moment on stage, TJ, I don't know if you recall, but Ruben actually froze. Ruben actually froze.
Do you
We
remember
got
what it
going.
was?
Well, I don't remember the particular. I was hoping these guys would help me out, but it took me a minute to get going because I was so concerned that I had notes on my phone. I had my phone, and he literally kicked me. So it's just do you, right? So I dropped the phone and I just started letting loose. And I
Wow.
was feeding off of Jackie. I always fed off of Jackie, by the way. Jackie, I always followed Jackie. That's why Jackie was always first and I was always second because I always followed up on Jackie. And he just said, let loose. And he knew how to get that out of me. Like he knew how to get me going. Right. And I let loose. We start going. About 2/3 of the presentation in, and I didn't notice because you get in when you have that many people in the room, you kind of just get into a haze, right? You try not to get emotional. You try not to look at the crowd because if you look at the crowd, it gets some impact. And it was Ruben's turn, and he just took a pause, and I looked at him, and he wasn't saying anything. I kicked him, and he said, "Look at the crowd," and I looked at the crowd, and they were crying.
Wow.
And that's when it kind of hit me like, oh, this is different, right? And and then I said, do you, right? And then he just started going. And that's how he knew that it was something different. And I think that's really what fueled him. We get the question asked, why? Why do this? And God, honest truth, we didn't know until about a month or two before he passed. We were sitting in, I believe it was, what's the last one? It was Oklahoma City,
That was Colorado, I think.
Colorado.
Colorado. We were sitting in the room after a long night, and he goes, I think I figured it out. And just at random, just random. I was getting ready for bed. I'm like, oh man, here we go. Man, I'm trying to go to bed. And he says, I think I figured it out. He goes, I said, we called each other Ricky. I said, what you got, Ricky? And he goes, it's helping me. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, this is why we're doing this. He goes,
Wow.
we're working through our stuff by doing this. It was our way of therapy. It's the way we dealt with our problems, right? And we're sharing it with everybody else. And to be able to share that with them, it's helping us work through our stuff. And I looked at him, I said, bro, it's 1 a.m. I said, but you're right. I said, you're right.
And
And
that's so true. And if you think about it too, like when we went on stage the first time, like we all had our fears of like, oh, we don't even know how this is gonna go. And I think it was like before set, we were like, oh my gosh, like everybody was like sweating, palm sweaty, right? And then like for me, like I was nervous because feel like I was gonna be perceived the other way. Oh, she's a woman, she's always emotional. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, like they're gonna like, oh, that's normal. So I really genuinely was like having them up there with me made it more, I think, wholesome. But like, oh, it's not just her, it's not just him, and then that connection that we all put together and feeding off of each other. It was crazy because like halfway through, we weren't even looking at notes. We weren't even like looking at like it was just like flowing, flowing, flowing. And honestly, I think that was probably the best one that we did, because that was not only the first one, but it was where we didn't know what to expect. And so it was so raw and like real. And then the reactions that we got after, but Ruben's kind of was the one that started, and like he would pull it out of everybody. And you're right, because we were all going through stuff every time we did an event, and it was like being able to talk about those things, or it wasn't like where it was a safe space, made it feel more like we were, just friends talking about other things, and nobody was going to judge us. And no matter where we sat or where we were, that's what we pulled out of each other. TJ is really good at moderating too.
Well, TJ, I want to go back to you, because we do have a heartbreak. But if you guys want to come back on again, we can do a part 2. So don't worry about that. There's a lot way to get to. I want to ask you. You were talking about being raw up there, Jackie, and I'll tell you from the perspective of somebody watching it, I was amazed. Honestly, because you were just like, I didn't think, oh, she's a woman. That's why I was like, holy cow, she's bearing her soul. Jesse, you were up there. I was like, wow. It was kind of a credit that you guys were. There was no, there were no barriers, and I think that's why you're very effective. It was, you just used the word friends. The one I was thinking of was Seinfeld, because it was the 4 of you. When you had that banter back and forth when you're sitting there, in front of or wherever they're at Monk's eating, and you guys had that, and it wasn't. It wasn't forced. TJ, to you, Jesse and Ruben's epiphany at 1:00 in Colorado, from your professional perspective, how on the ball is that? Do you see that happen frequently?
Oh yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, when he said it, and actually, that was the first time I heard Jesse say it like that. It really resonated, and I see that in sessions. The price of real, authentic connection is 2 things: conflict and vulnerability. Right? You have to be willing to engage in discomfort, uncomfortable conversations, experiences, and then also you have to be willing, and I'm talking about deep, deep, meaningful connection. You have to be willing to be vulnerable, to show up in ways that risk hurting you emotionally sometimes, risk your reputation, risk you've got to put something on the line. You got to have skin in the game, right? If you want real connection. And so by communicating with others what you're going through, you do that, right? I 100% know there were people in the crowd who were rolling their eyes, right? I 100% know there were people in the crowd who are like, what are we doing? And then I also know there were people in the crowd like, man, I needed to hear this. I needed to hear that it's not even that it's okay, but that I'm not the only one. That I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
I want to be sensitive, and I want to go around the room around the screen one last time for your final thoughts and all. And again, if you guys want to go on again, we can. But Jackie, I want to ask you, and Nate, probably the same to you, because you're both in the industry. Do you get feedback from that? What do people say to you guys? So 2 questions. Number 1, what do they say to you? Do you get feedback on that presentation? And then are you guys going to continue to do the presentation, or have you not had an opportunity to think that far in advance yet?
We definitely want to continue what we've started, as Ruben led that. We just don't know what it's going to look like yet.
Yeah.
But that's some work through that we're all gonna collaborate on and figure out. I still do get feedback from it, but what I have valued the most is being a leader in the healthcare industry. When somebody's either has seen that presentation, or even like my team being vulnerable to come and tell me and talk to me. And it's actually helped me, and even in my personal relationships, because I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. I'm not afraid to tell you how I feel. I'm not afraid to say, this is what I need from you, and so I feel like all around it's kind of like a mental clarity that I've gotten out of it. And in the end, it affects everything else. It affects our physicality of the way we do things, or how we operate. It affects our teams and how we make this sort of like a morale of the team, right? What you're creating, a psychological a safe environment, really. So it is something that I keep going and I keep pressing on, even just being here. And personally, I've like even brought my children into it, like, hey, it's okay to tell me things, it's okay to feel this way, and it's okay to say that you feel that way. So it's definitely something that we do want to continue though, and I'm looking forward to however it turns out to be.
Nate, you get any feedback, any comments?
You know, not directly from that. Only thing we would talk about the presentations. He said, "Hey, son, I'm going across the country. I'm doing these mental health presentations." I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome." And he always kept me up to date what he was doing. But I think even before he started doing these presentations, we would just have a lot of conversations and talk about people and talk about how how to be a good person. And I think a lot of what I've learned a lot of high emotional intelligence from him. A lot of compassion and having empathy. And so I think a lot of those have made me into the leader who I am today. And I always think about, hey, what would my dad do? How would he approach the situation, whether it was professional or personal? He always had the right mindset that I looked up to, and so having that, he instilled a lot of his values and just being caring and being kind. Being kind.
Guys, we're up against it. Final word, teacher. And anybody want to make final comment? TJ, I'm just going to go to you first, only because of the time. If you need to bug off after you say that, feel free. But open forum for you folks. Just final words.
Sure. I feel compelled to really speak to Nate, in that, yeah, your dad was incredible, bro. One of one, like truly, truly a one-of-one guy. And I just knowing him and the honor to get to know him through this, I know as much as he's proud of you and wants you to carry on with the things that y'all have built, he also wants you to be Nate, right? And so it's carrying on the things that he's taught you. Buried on Isaac Newton's, like the inscription on his grave, it says, "If I am tall, it's because I stood on the shoulders of giants." And so, you know, just use that to continue to build not only his legacy, but who Nate is to the world, because we need that too, bro.
Thank you. Thank you.
There is one thing I wanted to get out there, Peter. The outreach on his passing was incredible. Incredible. There were so many people reaching out. But I want to talk about, there was 3 or 4 in particular that I want to touch on. And when the news first broke, I asked everybody to give the family time to mourn. I said, please don't post it, give them a few hours. There was no stopping it. It just got out. And within the first 24 hours, there were so many people reaching out that it was overwhelming. But there was three or four in particular that I wanted to clarify. When the news got out, there was some people believing that he had committed suicide, and that's not the case. Ruben was so full of life. Ruben was so. You want to know something hard, Peter? It's trying to put into words and tell the people at his funeral who he was. Because he was so full of life, and then he was so much. Like, it was, like I said again, the life safety guy was just something he did on Sundays. That's how great he was. And look how he was recognized for that for 3 or 4 hours of his week. And a lot of people just got to see that. And because of the mental health participation, I think people thought that it was a suicide. I just wanted to get out that that's not the case. Ruben had a episode where he was sick, had to get surgery, and didn't make it out of surgery. That's how it happened. I don't want to get too many details because, for privacy, but that's basically what happened. He went in for an emergent surgery and just didn't make it out. And he didn't suffer. It was quick, and we're left with his legacy. So, and we're gonna continue it somehow. But I would like a part two because there's so many stuff that's happening, um, that's gonna happen for him, and you're not for your family, Nate. Real quick, they're trying to start a foundation in his name. We're gonna have if you don't know about the taco cook-off, Peter, that was a big event. We'll go into that in part two, but there's gonna be a memorial / benefit for Ruben March 8th during PDC.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be a miniature taco cook-off I'm putting together with Josh Brackett, Taylor. There's so many people get involved and helping me with this. We're gonna do a / benefit / memorial because Ruben had a funeral and his family got to say goodbye. I think his professional family gets a chance to say goodbye, right? And we're gonna have that on once again March 8th, and we can talk about that in part two. There'll be more. They're starting to plan now. There's a conference that he did every year during the rodeo cook-off. It's called and we're gonna have it. And Ruben created the award. It's called the Kelly Mason Award when Kelly Mason passed away. And we're gonna award Ruben that award this year during that session. Yeah.
Thank you, Jesse. Jackie, Nate, you guys good?
Yes, sir.
Well, no words. So TJ Johnson, Jackie Marroquin, Jesse Flores, Nate Garcia, Ruben Garcia. Thank you for your time. I would just say one really quick thing, one word for your dad. And obviously I didn't know him as well as you guys, but what always came across to me, and I was in the recruiting world for so many years in the hospital, just genuine. Like, when somebody's fake and when somebody's not, right? And that's why when he asked the guy in the elevator, no, really, how you feeling? It's probably like you can sense it. You could sense it with him. And you guys spoke very eloquently. So I appreciate you joining. We will do a part two. This is Peter Martin for the Healthcare Facilities Network. Thanks for watching, and say a prayer for Ruben, for Ruben's friends, for Ruben's family. Thanks for watching.
If you want to be a guest on a future episode of the Healthcare Facilities Network, go to healthcarefacilitiesnetwork.com and let us know who you are and what you want to talk about, because together we can solve this critical aging issue.